of the many things that scares people about grammar is apostrophes. They are terrified by them. But apostrophes don't have to be scary if you know how to use them. In this mini lesson, you are going to learn how to use apostrophes with possessives. What are possessives? One of the uses of apostrophes is to show possession or possessive nouns, which means ownership. One thing, which is a noun, a person, place, or thing, belongs to or is part of another thing. So let's look at this example right here. If we have somebody named Cherry, which is a noun, and that person has a cat, which is also a noun, how would we write that in a possessive form? We would write Cherry's cat. Notice the apostrophe S has been added to the noun cherry. Let's look at another one. My friend is happy. That means my friend has happiness. Again, you take the noun and you add an apostrophe S. This apostrophe S is what shows possession or ownership. In written text, it's important to place the apostrophe in the correct space to avoid confusion. You'll see some examples of this a little bit later. There are two major things to consider when we're determining possession. One of them is, number one, is it a singular or a plural noun that is the owner? In other words, is there one thing doing owning, or is it more than one thing doing owning? And the second thing is, does the noun end in an S? So let's look at the examples from the previous slide. Cherry has a cat. Cherry's a singular noun. Singular nouns always take an apostrophe and an S, which we see here. Same with the other example. Friend is singular, means there's just one, so we add an apostrophe and an S. Many common nouns automatically end in the letter S, such as cactus, bus, and so forth. So do a lot of proper nouns, like Mrs. Jones, Texas, and Christmas. If you forgot what a proper noun is, it's a noun that names a specific thing. Mr. Jones is his official name. Texas is the official name of the state. Christmas is the official name of the holiday. All proper nouns need to be capitalized. So let's get back to common nouns that end in the letter S. There are many conflicting policies or ideas or rules about how to show possession when writing such nouns. There's no right answer. Once you've mastered the English language, you can kind of play around with it for a little while. But the way I'm going to teach you now, and my advice to you is, if it's singular, no matter whether it ends in an S or not, always add an apostrophe S. Always. If the noun is singular, add apostrophe S. So let's look at this first example. The class has a test. The class is doing the ownership, and it has a test. Ends in an S, but it is a singular noun, so we're going to add an apostrophe S. I know this might look a little weird because it's all these S's, but it's correct. Kansas has tornadoes. Who's doing the ownership? That's right, Kansas. And what are they owning? Tornadoes. Good. Kansas, apostrophe S, tornadoes. Again, I know some people may say it looks weird, but it's correct. So please follow this rule. If it's singular, what are you going to add? That's right, an apostrophe S. Rule number 3 is to keep in mind that many regular nouns form their plural by adding either an S or an ES to the end of the word. Again, we're talking about plural nouns now, not singular. The rule for singular nouns was to add an apostrophe S. Now we're looking at plurals. If the noun is plural and it ends this way in either an S or an ES, you're only going to add the apostrophe to the end of the word. Every possessive noun has in it, at the end of it, somewhere an apostrophe and an S. Whether the apostrophe comes before the S or after the S depends upon its number, is it singular or plural, and then if the noun ends in S. So let's look at the word cat. That's the common noun. How do we make cat plural? That's right. You just add an S. Okay, now we have a noun that's plural. It already ends in S. And what's the rule? If the noun is plural and ends this way, either an S or an ES, you're only adding the apostrophe to the end of the word. So since it's cat, it's plural, S, ends in S, we're only adding a what? That's right, an apostrophe. So then what you'll have is this, C-A-T-S apostrophe. Let's look at class. That's the common noun in its singular form. How do we write class, plural? That's right, we add an ES. Since it's a plural noun and it ends in an S, according to this rule, what do? Good, we only add an apostrophe. C-L-A-S-S-E-S apostrophe. Now let's look at vehicle. We have the word vehicle in its singular form. How do we make it plural? Add an S. Good. Since it's a plural noun and it ends in S, according to the rule, what are we doing? We are only adding an apostrophe. Okay, very good. That's rule number 3. Rule number 4. Keep in mind, though, that you do not make all nouns plural by adding an S or an ES. Some nouns are called irregular nouns, and they become plural by adding different letters. Here's one way to do it, to the end of the word, by changing the spelling of the word, or the word remains the same as in its singular form. So, irregular nouns are made possessive only by adding an apostrophe S to the word's end. Okay, so let's look at a word that is made plural by adding different letters to the end of the word, and that is children. Child is the singular form, children is the plural, and according to the rule, irregular nouns are made possessive by doing what? That's right, adding an apostrophe S. Children, apostrophe S. Notice that I'm doing the number first, whether it's singular or it's plural. That's the very first thing you should determine when trying to figure out where to put the apostrophe and where to put the S. Always do the number first, whether it's singular or plural. Okay, so let's look at a word whose spelling changes when we make it plural. We have the word woman. How do we make woman plural? And I know this confuses a lot of people because once it's in its plural form, the way we pronounce it sounds different than the way it's spelled. It sounds like women, like the O should be changed, but that's not correct. Look at the root word, man. How do we make man plural? Something goes in here. That's right, it's an E. Women. Good. According to the rule, irregular nouns are made possessive by adding a what? Good, an apostrophe S. So we have women. Always do the word first, whether it's singular or plural, and then add the possessive qualities to it. Okay, now we're going to look at the last example, and that's a word that remains the same as in the singular form. So since I just told you it's going to remain the same, we have sheep in the singular. The plural of sheep is sheep. And what do, once again, to irregular nouns to make them plural? According to the rule. Good. We only add an apostrophe S. Very good. Moving on. I know your math teachers tell you all the time that it's really important to check your work. It's just as important as it is in math class to do it in English, and there are always ways to check your work. Okay, so we're going to look at this example. Here's my cat Ranger. My cat's happiness is important to me. How many cats do I have here? 1. Pretty obvious, I know. Okay, so we're going to look at the noun that's doing the possessing, or the possessive noun. Here's the possessive noun, it's cats. If you were to cover up or take away anything you added to the word to show possession, what you should have left is the number or the count or the word that indicates how many you have. So we're going to take away the apostrophe S because that's what was added to show possession. We're going to take that away. My cat. Is this true that there's only one cat being mentioned in this sentence? Yes, it's just Ranger. And since it's just one cat, and we know the rule for singular nouns is to add an apostrophe S, then I know that that's correct. What happens, however, when I add Rufus into the mix? Because both of them are important to me. Okay, same thing. You cover up what you've added, if you think it's correct, to the word to show the possession. I'm going to cover up the apostrophe. What I have is the plural word cats. Is cats indicative? In other words, is it showing exactly the number that I'm talking about? Well, not exactly the number. Is it showing that I'm talking about more than one cat? Yes, it is. And what's the rule for nouns that are plural that end in S? You only add an apostrophe. That's it. Should we look at that one more time? Okay, we have cats, C-A-T, bring Ranger back, C-A-T apostrophe S. If we cover up what we added to make it possessive, we should be able to check it. Then we have two cats, cover up the apostrophe S, because that's what we added to show it possessive. Is cat indicative of how many we have here? No, it's not. So we know it's wrong. We would have to get rid of that sentence and rewrite it. Cats, now the apostrophe is outside the word. Cover it up. Are we talking about more than one cat? Yes, we are. We're talking about Ranger and Rufus. So we can throw the apostrophe back in there because we know that plural nouns that end in S only take an apostrophe. Okay, I just want you to take a look at this for a minute, see if you can figure out the difference between these two sentences and explain their meaning to me. This is an extra credit opportunity, so if you come explain it to me during class time tomorrow, I will give you extra credit. So you can go ahead and pause and take a look at that, and when you're done, you can proceed to the next slide. Okay, a couple things. One last thing, rather. Do not use an apostrophe to make nouns plural. This is the incorrect way to do it, the correct way. So take a look at that. You may pause it if you want. A couple examples for you to look at also, and when you're ready, move on to the next screen. Lastly, I would like you to take this quick check for understanding. It's a quiz. Make sure that you save a copy of your responses or send a copy of your responses to yourself before you submit it. And have a good day.